Hey, this is Stories That Pop, and today I'm going to share with you a real Irish legend. So buckle up and get ready for Finn MCumhail and the Killarney Curse. Finn MCumhail loved to hunt, especially with his two giant wolfhounds, Bran and Sholon. Now, as the chieftain to a Celtic warrior band, he had many responsibilities, but he figured one day out hunting alone, that will do no harm, it'll be fine. So he gathered up his belongings in the morning with his two dogs, and they left for the woods. While they were in the woods, they spied the most magnificent deer they had ever seen, a beautiful, pure white doe. They followed this doe through the woods, through the glens, over the fens, and all the way, far, far away, to the lake of Killarney. But upon reaching the lake, they lost sight of the doe. Instead, they found a beautiful young woman sitting on the boulders near the edge of the lake. Oh, she wept. Oh, she cried, and she wailed and pulled at her long hair. Oh, she said, "What am I going to do?" Finn walked up to her, lifted up her chin, and said, "Fair lady, my lady, what seems to ail you?" And she said, my lord, I was walking along the edge of the lake here, and I was playing with my ring, and my ring fell off of my finger, and the ring fell into the lake, and oh, the ring was given to me by my father. If I return home without it, he and my mother will surely lock me up for the rest of my life. What am I going to do? It said, "Don't worry, lady. Don't worry, my lady. I will jump into the lake for you and find your ring." He said, "My dogs, Bran and Sholon, they will keep you company and keep you safe while I am gone." With that, he dove into the lake and he swam down to the muck, into the mud, dug around, could not find the ring. He ran out of there, swam to the top, inhaled, looked across and saw that his dog Sholon had left the lady's side. He couldn't deal with that right now. He had to find the ring. He dove down a second time, down to the muck, into the mud, and he dug around but could not find the ring. Ran out of air again, swam back to the top, inhaled, and saw that Bran had also left the maiden's side. Oh, these dogs, I'll deal with them later, he thought to himself. I must find this ring first. He dove down a third time, down to the bottom, and messed around in the muck and in the mud and found the ring. He swam back up to the top, inhaled deep. And as he did, he felt the chill of death enter into his body. He began to swim, losing energy and losing strength all the way to the edge of the lake, out of the lake and across the land. He crawled, and as he did so, his body withered and his skin wrinkled up and his face turned gaunt and his hair turned white. By the time he got all the way to the lady, she looked at him and smiled a very cruel smile. She reached down and plucked the ring from Finn McCumhail's hands. She said, "Ah, Finn, this will teach you. Perhaps now you will remember me in your death and how you murdered my husband and my two sons." In his defense, Finn barely breathed out, "But, lady, if what you say is true, then it must have been on the battlefield. Fair is fair, fighting man to man." She said, "It matters not." And she scoffed at him, kicked a little dirt into his face, and said, "I leave you here to die, Finn McCumhail, and a curse be on your two dogs too for leaving your side." She left him there. That evening, Bran and Sholon made it back to the Celtic warrior band's camp. The General Gaul saw the dogs and said, "Where's Finn? What is going on? The dogs have returned. If the dogs have returned but there is no Finn, then Finn is in danger. We must do something." They plotted and they planned. They decided that in the morning they would gather their things and go after the dogs to find Finn McCumhail. They did so. As the sun rose up, they gathered all their belongings and they followed after Sholon as the dog led them back to Finn McCumhail. Bran, however, noticed that a particular warrior, Finn's own grandson, Oscar, was not in camp. So he sniffed and he snuffed around until he finally found Oscar asleep in the woods next to a tree. Bran tried to wake up Oscar. He took Oscar's thumb and put it in his mouth and bit down as hard as he could all the way to the bone, and Oscar simply Bran shook his head, started to holler so loud that it scared and scattered all the animals in a 50-mile radius, caused the birds to fly 5 miles higher and all the fish out of the nearby ponds to jump out of the water and onto the dry land. But Oscar simply Bran, he wasn't having it. No, he took Oscar's face and bit down on Oscar's nose as hard as he could. And that woke Oscar up. Finally, he woke up, shot up, looked over. Oh, Bran, what are you doing? Looked and saw that Bran was doing this, as though to say, follow me, follow me. Oscar thought something must be wrong with Finn. He picked up all of his things and he chased after Bran on their way to find Finn McCumhail. Now, the warrior band, they traveled far, they traveled wide, they traveled long, and eventually their feet got so tired as they followed after so long. Their bellies grumbled empty. They needed some food to keep going. They looked off in the distance and they saw an old fort. They thought, let us rest there. And the General Gaul said, we'll go in there and rest for just a bit before we find Finn McCumhail. And so they did so. They all went into the old fort, and upon entering the fort, they saw that there were tables set full of food, a magnificent feast, and just enough stone chairs for every single one of the warriors, including Sholon. They all sat down on their own chair and began to eat the food, throwing rolls across the room to one another and having a good time. Once they were done eating and their bellies were full, in walked the beautiful young woman. She said, I suppose you're here looking for Finn McCumhail, is that correct? They said, yes, aye, that's right. We're looking for Finn McCumhail, our chieftain. Oh, he passed by here just a couple of days ago. In fact, even now, he's down there by the lake. You can see Finn by the lake. In fact, I'm going to go there in just a few moments if you'd like to come with me. They all shouted out, yes, we will go with you. And they tried to stand from their chairs and they tried to get clean. Their rear ends were stuck to the chairs. It's like they were magically glued. They couldn't move. Anger and fear flared within them. What have you done with Finn McCumhail? They took a closer look down by the lake and they could see that he was just lying there. Who are you? And they were stuck. She merely laughed and left them. They were stuck there in their chairs the rest of the day, all the next night, and into the next day when finally they looked out and they saw Oscar following behind Bran. Bran led Oscar down to Finn McCumhail, and when Oscar reached Finn, he bent down low and listened to what Finn had to say. Finn said, Oscar, I'm so glad you're here. Please go to the fairy folk. There, the fairy folk, you will find a leprechaun enchanter. Bid him to give you the drink of youth and return here to me with the drink. Please go now. Oscar at once got up and left, looking for the land of the fairy folk. Bran followed alongside beside him. As they came into the land of the fairy folk, the leprechaun enchanter saw them coming. He dove down deep beneath the earth to hide. But today, Oscar was not to be trifled with. No, not today, not with Finn McCumhail's life on the line. He saw in the fair distance the leprechaun dive into the earth, and so he knew to dig. He and Bran began to dig and dig and dig and dig until a great hole had been unearthed. They grabbed the leprechaun. Now, everybody knows that when you catch a leprechaun, the leprechaun must give to you whatever your heart's desire. Today, Oscar's heart desire was to rescue Finn's life. So he told the leprechaun, give me the drink of youth so that I can return it to Finn McCumhail. Reluctantly, the leprechaun did so and gave Oscar a giant cup full of a magical elixir that would return Finn back to his youth. Oscar and Bran returned to Finn, gave him the sips, and he coughed and felt the warmth go through his body. He felt his body get younger and younger and stronger until he was able to stand up and looked as though he was 20 years younger than he was before he ever dove into the lake. He thanked Oscar. He rubbed Bran behind his ears, and together they made their way up to the old fort that they could see near the lake. Once entering the old fort, they saw all of the warriors and Shallan. They took the rest of that cup and the elixir inside and dripped a bit onto each of their thighs until the drink was gone, and that loosened up and broke the magic spell, and they were all able to stand up. They all returned back to their camp, celebrating and rejoicing with anybody who would celebrate and rejoice along with them. And you would too, should you ever find them. I hope you enjoyed Finn McCumhail and the Killarney Curse. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, share out this video with your friends, ring the bell for notifications, and give me a thumbs up on my video if you liked it. Until next time, keep on bopping!